up with me. Welcome back, everyone, and apologies for my terrible attempt at a little bit of sign language. As you would all know, those were two big male lions that we were looking at briefly. They've been fast asleep for quite some time now, and we were on the southern edge of the, apologies, the northern edge of the Arathusa airstrip. That's where those lions had been located. There were two of them, the Timber Coalition, the coalition of male lions that we do see commonly in this area. And you may have noticed I was pointing to a picture of a leopard up in a tree in my book and mentioning that's where we were going. So hopefully that is what we will find very shortly. We are probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from there, and been battling with the radio comms over here on Arathusa, so we may potentially cut back to Hayden a little bit later just while I establish exactly where the sighting is. But for the time being, you can certainly look forward to a beautiful view of the Arathusa Dam. It's a very large dam that the Arathusa Lodge looks out onto, and one of the beautiful scenes that we enjoy when we come across to this property, as well as other things like animals. So great prospects, especially for Peter and Hayden this afternoon, who are going to be out and drive. Those two male lions will probably not go anywhere or do anything during the course of the day, and therefore you can look forward to almost a guaranteed lion sighting a little bit later this afternoon, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more active than the sleeping beauties that we got to have a look at earlier.
I'm a very, very big believer in and a very, very big follower of and a supporter of. It's called the Giraffe Conservation Foundation, and it's run by a friend of mine, Dr. Julian Fennessy, who's probably the giraffe guru of the world. He heads up an amazing organisation that is really trying to create awareness about the giraffe and its plight, because it's going to be not before too long that we do lose certain ecotypes. Ecotypes of giraffe are the different coat patterns and slightly different head horn shapes and things like that, but mainly the coat patterns. You can go all the way up into Sudan and Uganda and Kenya, and all the way down across into Namibia, where we've got these southern giraffes, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe. But I suppose my point is, just if you do, after you finish watching Wild Safari Live, jump onto their website, Giraffe Conservation Foundation, GCF it's called. Fantastic information about giraffes, lots and lots of resources to learn about them, and that's what it's all about. Wild Safari Live is all about you having this experience, but also stimulating you to be able to learn more about it and help with the existence of wildlife in Africa and around the world. Saw those impala back there. It wasn't as spectacular as I've seen, or many of you else of you have probably seen. But Jeffrey in Texas, welcome Jeffrey, and welcome aboard. I keep on saying it about the states and the places I've been to in the United States, but Texas I've been several times. It's a magnificent place and but you do see many giraffe. But you do see many giraffe. But you do see many giraffe. Some that have been one-horned in a bachelor group, but in perfect condition. So I haven't seen any die, but I'm sure there was an instance where they have. One of the things you do find, and this is quite interesting, Jeff, and everyone else, but one thing you do find sometimes is that the impalas are in such a mental state of success and trying to push that other male off that they'll drop their guard so dramatically that a leopard or a cheetah, bang, get them. And they're just so focused and fixated on that rut that some predators will take advantage of that. So that's what I have seen happen. But great question, Jeff, and thank you. And I hope Texas is still as fantastic, I'm sure it is, as it was when I was there. Impalas are one of those antelope. I think they've been classified as probably the perfect antelope. They got a magnificent body structure. They're fast. They can browse as well as graze. They have vast numbers. They've got incredible adaptation to different sort of habitats and climatic conditions. They can hold back their pregnancy for a little bit longer. It's a very, very beautifully adapted creature. And we've got a question from Blair in Canada. Blair, welcome aboard. Thank you very much for being with us. And she wants to know, Blair, you want to find out whether other female impala fight each other. Well, the answer is no, they don't. They're very, very quiet, they get on very, very well. And it's only the males that do the rutting and the fighting, but they will try and covet their herd and pull those females together and look after those females. But I've seen two females just sort of pushing their heads together, but not in any way, shape or form a fight. But yeah, that's the answer to the question, Blair, and I hope Canada's great. I did get a question the other day I didn't get a chance to answer, and someone asked about some of the other animal encounters I'd had in my time, and I mentioned one encounter in Canada, Blair, if you're still with us, and it was where I went to see this mass emergence of these garter snakes, red-sided garter snakes in a place called Narcisse in Manitoba. And the person that was asking the question said, I'm off to Narcisse in Manitoba to see these snakes emerge. So if you're watching, whoever it was, I do apologise. I can't remember after reading hundreds and hundreds of tweets and emails as we see. But if you're watching, fantastic to know that you're off to there. It's quite an incredible thing to see this mass emergence of these snakes come out of the ground. Speaking of snakes, when I was looking for Q the other day with Andrew and I on the vehicle, I was about to get out of the vehicle and move a stick, a bit of a branch out of the way, and there was this magnificent puff adder about this long, slowly moving his way out from under my vehicle, which I think I mentioned the other day, but I was really happy I didn't run over him. We do be very, very careful as we drive through the bush, but snakes will hear you coming. Here's a couple of lovely antelope. We'll just pull up. I'm going to keep the vehicle running because he will probably run off as soon as I turn it off, which is a great behaviour that they do. A kudu, young kudu bull, he's not that old. I'm just going to move forward for Andrew to get a better shot. There you go. He's behind a little bit of vegetation there. They're notorious, these guys, for as soon as you switch the engine off, running off. So I'll just give them a little second and just see if he stays. Oh, thank you, my friend. Isn't he beautiful? What a fantastic creature. He's only a youngster, and they've those fantastic side stripes on the animal. You can see on this female over here ahead, Andrew, onto your about 11 o'clock from where you are. Let me just move up. I'm on a bit of an angle here for Andrew. It's a bit tricky to get the level on the camera. So let me just move on to flatter ground. You'll see just those lovely side stripes in there. If you can just, as she's walking through, you'll see those lovely side stripes, which are like a fingerprint. I think I mentioned it again the other day. I'll probably mention it every time we come across them because I think it's one of the most beautiful markings in the antelope world, and that's there to break up that body shape. They live in that vegetative sort of band of this sort of exactly a bit of a look around here. So I've got a lovely question here from Lisa. Lisa, welcome aboard and thank you very, very much for joining us. And it's a nice question for me to answer because it's very poignant in my life. What part of Africa haven't I been to that I'd like to go to? I think that was one half of your question. And the other half of your question is, what haven't I seen that I'd like to see? So we'll start with the what haven't I seen that I'd like to see. I've never seen okapi in the wild, and I'd really like to see okapi in the Congo. That would be a dream come true. I'd really like to see simian wolf in Ethiopia, or Ethiopian wolf. I'd really like to see the sort of migration of antelope in this Sudanese, South Sudan border and Uganda as well, that I've heard so many stories about, but I've never seen either. A couple of, one of the strange things, I've been coming to Africa since 1992. So what's that? 92? Okay, many years. And I've only seen a handful of aardvark in my time. I'd really like to see them and have a close encounter with aardvark. Where would I like to go? I haven't been to Ethiopia before. I'd really like to do that. I'd like to spend some time in South Sudan, if possible, looking at wildlife there. And I'd like to spend a bit more time. I spend loads of time in Uganda, but I haven't been to Uganda for quite some time, maybe a year or so. So that's a couple of places I'd really like to go back to. But you know what? I have to say, Lisa, once you're on the continent, you feel like you're on this one big continent. You just feel like you're connected to everything. You feel like you're connected to all the other countries. And there's something special about being in Africa that people that are born here have running through their system, running through their soul. They have a connection with their country, like we all do, but there's something very special about South Africa, particularly for me, when I see the wildlife that people have in this country and how proud they should be of this magnificent wildlife and mega diversity that they have. It's a really moving thing for me to see, and I think they all should be very proud. You've got a fine country here, folks. Thank you very much, Lisa. Great question. Very quiet here today, this morning, folks. Very quiet. I've talked to Texan and Aubrey on the radio. Not much going on at all. I'm just looking at the time and making sure we watch that, but not a great deal. But at the same time, we can always drive around and keep looking. That's the most important thing. Lovely question from Virginia. Virginia, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And your question is about the coat pattern or the markings on that wildebeest. It's referred to as brindle, brindle. You may have heard the word before. But that brindle coat pattern, you see it on dogs as well and some other species. And basically it's this sort of a slightly darker tinge. It's not a stripe, it's just a bit of a mottled look that happens on wildebeest, and it's quite common. There's also a black wildebeest. It's very different. It's got much darker sort of coat pattern. But that's what it refers to, Virginia, and it's commonly known as a brindled colour, and it's also sometimes known as brindled gnu, brindled gnu or new, GNU, which is also the other name for wildebeest. Thank you for your question, Virginia. Just heading down now into quarantine. I might just have to have a stop and a bit of a drink if that's all right, folks. You don't have to listen to us, I suppose, but you have to. We're just a bit thirsty at the moment. Get a little bit parched out here. So just to give you a sensory update, which I like to do with you, the temperature's risen up into probably just touching 20. The smells around, or the sort of scents around at the moment. Just found some dung to show you. Excuse me for a second. The scents around these are a lovely sort of smell of just, I don't know, gentle sort of grass smell at the moment. But I just want to show you something. I just got to get out to do it. And I'm going to move around the front of the vehicle as well. I'll turn the engine off. Please excuse me for a second, I just turned the engine off. We said we're going to stop at and pick up some different dung. And I know Tara does this a lot as well, which I think is a fantastic thing. She's so much fun. And what a lovely person she is, and she's hugely knowledgeable. We may have talked about the same thing or chatted about the same thing. So if you've heard this sort of stuff before, all well and good. If anyone knows what that is, I'm not sure, but I could ask you to tweet it. I think most people will know, but have a couple of tweets, send a couple of tweets to us and send us what you think it is. I'll talk about it, and then I'll come back to the vehicle and see if we can find out what it is. So this particular piece of dung is quite big. You can see here, it's about that long. It's very, very rich in calcium, which will be utilized by other animals. Other animals will actually eat this. So tortoises or birds, tortoises would use it to build their carapace or their shell, or strengthen their shell and grow their shell. And birds would eat it to assist them in creating eggshell or building eggshell within inside their body. Just, I'm sure you're on a close-up at the moment, mate.
Just come back.
I'll come back to the vehicle, and then I'll just drop that back down, or I might pop it up there, and I'll just plug it back in. Okay, we're back in the saddle. Interesting little piece there. Got a nice shot on that. Now, if you want to tweet and tell us what you think that is, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will know what it is. And you can see how dense it is too. It's incredible. Very, very dense. It's quite weighty. It feels probably about the same weight as an apple or an orange. Okay, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to pop that back down on the ground so some animals can actually utilize that. And if you want to tweet in, and we'll see what the general consensus is. I'm sure most people are going to get that. But I just want to, for people that have just joined us, or newcomers to Safari Live, it's a great little quiz for them. And maybe you could tweet us and say newcomer, and give us your answer. That'd be really, really good. We're just going to drive down under quarantine now, so I'm going to let that be, and I'll talk a little bit more about that dung that we just picked up in a minute. We're just moving down now onto the area we call, as known as quarantine. Some people may wonder what that name, why it's called quarantine. It used to be a quarantine area where these reserves were being restocked with wildlife, and animals would come in from outside. They would go through a quarantine process, particularly buffalo, so they weren't bringing in TB or any other bovine diseases. We've got a beautiful impala. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to do it because it's a good bit of fun, and we can get the ball rolling with that. It was hyena dung, and that's exactly right. So well done to you all, and Lynn and Jody, top work for being first. But it's hyena dung, and the reason why that is so rich in calcium is that they eat bones. They eat much of the carcass. They're such an incredibly efficient predator. Don't think that they're just a scavenger, those hyena. They're very effective hunters as well. But when they do have a successful kill, or they do pick up the pieces on a line kill or something like that, they'll crunch through the bones. Really, only things they leave are they have even been known to eat the hooves and the horns, but sometimes they do leave those, and that's what they probably do majority of the time. But yeah, hyena dung, so very, very rich in calcium through all that ingestion of bone, and that's what makes their fecal matter or their dung so white, and will be utilised by other species, tortoises and lots of birds you'll see picking at it as well. It's all the big bush newspaper, it's all the big picture, it's all
little presentation on Dandu. Out here, they all help tell a story, and it's critical to know all the little intricate details. I'm not sure if she's following the scent of something. It's very thick in there, but she seems intent. You can see now she's stopped, she's listening, and as they twitch their heads from side to side, it allows them to pick up audio more intensely as they direct the head in the direction of whatever it is that they can hear. Even her posture and body language as she crossed the road was fairly stealthy. I thought that was simply because she was popping out into the open. But judging by this very focused body language, she could well be on the trail of something. And that means we have to just sit and be patient. We don't want to interfere in any way with her ongoings. Now I'm just going to call this on the Game Drive channel just to let everyone know. Because it's critical for us to share all of the information on different sightings with the other guides. I'm hoping she's going to pop out into that small clearing. There she goes. Stations, there's a Mafazi Ingwe, a couple of 100 meters south of Balinati's junction. She's just crossed over Triple M in an easterly direction. Well, we're going to try and reposition now. And isn't this great? Myself and VM had absolutely no idea and certainly didn't expect to bump into her. And that is the beauty of being out here, is that there's so much unknown and so many surprises that we get spoiled with. This being one of them. I can't wait to show you some better views of her so that you, the viewers, can help us identify this leopard. I don't fancy myself as much of an expert when it comes to identifying them, but there are certain individuals who are very good at doing this. Great conditions for leopards to be hunting in. To reiterate, the wind and this windy weather that we're experiencing tells me that any prey will battle to hear her approach. It'll be muffled. I'm not sure if she's got a limp. It appears like her back right leg may be causing her a little bit of discomfort. Nothing serious though. And judging from that further brief glimpse that I had of her there, I think that this could be Shadow, which is one of Karula's daughters. Karula is a female leopard whose territory encompasses our property on Djuma, and we see more of her than any other female. But this could be her daughter. And it would make sense from a territorial perspective because Shadow's territory lies to the west of us into Arethusa, and that's where she came from. Please just bear with me. It is going to be a while before we get a great glimpse of her. You can see it. Maybe it's the scent of prey, maybe it's the scent of another leopard. Either way, there certainly is something that's exciting her. And that excites me, so I hope you're all enjoying this. Like I say, don't go anywhere. She will hopefully pop out into a more clear area, which will allow us to get you some better views of her. Let me just try and reposition now, because she has become somewhat stationary. We might be able to get a glimpse of her face here. And it's that face that you need to see to be able to identify the leopards. Well, not the only thing, but it certainly does provide you a view of the spots which can be used to help distinguish one leopard from another. Sniffing the bushes very, very intently. And I think that may even have been a phlegm grimace that we got to see there, which is a grimace that when they curl up their lips to open up an organ to process smell better. So it's not only their nostrils, but also an organ called the Jacobson's organ, which is used to help process scent better, and that's situated on their upper lip. Look at that tail flicking from side to side. What has happened here? Whatever it was that she could smell, I think just ran off. I heard a small rustle in the bushes, and she almost got a little bit of a fright. Oh, there it is. It's a genet. Look up in the tree there. Awesome, VM. Can you see it? This is incredible. You very, very seldom see genet during the day. It's a nocturnal animal. And this is incredible. Lucky genet, though. It escaped the leopard. And I'm surprised the leopard didn't continue trying to catch that genet, because it's up a very small tree. Where's the leopard gone? Okay. Not heading into an area that suits us greatly. But I'm guessing that a general eastern direction of movement will be the one that she continues to follow. At least I hope it does. Maybe station copy here. Get any station copy here. Apologies, my earpiece, I just noticed had been pulled off my branch as I was driving past. So she's just moving parallel to us at the moment, and I want to get into a position where hopefully we'll have her walking towards us. So again, bear with me for a moment. Very tricky business for VM on camera, but he's doing a great job tracking her through this thick undergrowth. Well, that was a first for me, everyone. I've never seen a leopard flush out a genet during the day, and it's testament to how good their sense of smell is. There's no ways that that leopard would have been able to see the genet in there. The only way it would have known is from its sense of smell. And that's why we saw that tail flickering and that body language of hers intensify as she got excited by the prospect of this genet. I just saw Steenbok, and now I see the leopards followed up behind. It's parallel to us. It's very thick here, so apologies. It's difficult to see, but the action continues, and now this leopard appears to be chasing down, or not chasing down, but following rather, at a slow-paced trot in the direction that this Steenbok headed to. Steenbok's a very small antelope. I just want to try and go a little bit further forward, and then that way we should get a good view of her. She has disappeared. But this is what leopards do well. Vian? Is she just behind those trees there, I think? The fallen down tree. Well, this is a mystery to me. I really thought that she would have continued in her direction following that Steenbok. But unless she darted off in another direction, she should be here. How bizarre. It took us only a few seconds to go around the termite mound, and in that time she appears to have vanished. Well, just as quickly and unexpectedly as we found her, it may appear that we are going to lose her equally as quickly and easily. I'm not going to give up on her though. And VM have got our work cut out for us here, so let's focus on doing that, and we're going to cut across to Hayden. If we have any luck relocating on this female leopard, whoever it may be, we'll certainly let you guys know. Catch you later.
Folks, we've just turned up to Buffalo Silk Dam. I wanted to come up here and have a look because I was in the area, and I thought it might be just worth checking to see if excuse me, whether any of the predators had come up here for a drink. And it's always just good to check these water holes when you're close by. There was also talk of elephant up here earlier, but we've got ourselves a hippo, and that's always a good thing. It's really interesting how the hippo population is moves around here at the moment. There's no other hippos, and Andrew's just scanning around. You can see the size of Buffalo Silk Dam here. There's no other hippos in here at the moment, but the other day there was 3, and then I heard from the guides that before that there was only 2. So the transition, or the cross sort of dam population is really transient at the moment. It looks like it's just a bull in here by himself, and females come and go from this, but I have sat here and I've seen like 15, 18 hippo in here. So they will travel vast distances overnight to get to those water holes, and it just depends on what the vegetation's like. If there's good vegetation around, they prefer the shorter greener grass than the coarse grass, and that mouth is designed perfectly for that, as you know, with that beautiful big square lip at the bottom, really nicely designed. I'm just turning my Game Drive channel down. But you know, adult males, goodness, they can get up to 3,000 kilograms, which is, oh, here goes the mathematics again. 3,000 kilograms. I should have an app for this, shouldn't I? 3,000 kilograms is about 2,300 pounds, I think, around that. That's a bit of a guess. No, sorry, no, that's not right. I've done that the wrong way around, haven't I? No, I think it's more likely other way around, double the kilos. So it's about 7,000 pounds, I'd say, as it is a bit of a rough estimate of a big bull. But really hard to tell how big an animal is under the water with those, just the nostrils and the head and the eyes, perfectly adapted, as you can see, to just spend most of the day submerged, a semi-aquatic life that they lead. In the colder months, they'll come out and haul themselves out onto the sandbanks and maybe stay in the warmth of the sun a little bit until they get too hot or the sun gets too extreme to protect their very, very sensitive skin. Then they go in the water. Just had a question from Jeffrey in Texas, and wow, Jeffrey, you've come up with a cracker there, my friend. Absolutely great question. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story after I answer it. Jeffrey wants to know, and hi Jeffrey, thank you very, very much for joining us. Jeffrey wants to know if the elephant's dung is not that well digested and there's still nutrition in it, could they re-ingest it? Well, the first point of it is that it probably wouldn't be as palatable for them as fresh vegetation, that's for sure. But they, and that's the reason why they wouldn't do it. They're designed very, very differently. I don't know many animals that eat their own dung for reasons of nutrition, but there might be situations that go on, a psychological situation that might be going on. But coming back to elephants, I have seen in the Kruger National Park on one occasion many years ago, back in the mid-90s, listen to me, old man, back in the mid-90s, where I was travelling through there and there was an elephant kill, or an elephant died, sorry, not an elephant kill, so an elephant died, an old animal. It was in 1992, I think it was, or 3. There was a drought anyway, I can't quite remember. But the drought was so severe that animals were having to change their behaviour. They were having to modify their behaviour and live close side by side. Most animals don't want to risk injury. There's no need for them to. If they're going to eat the other animal, well, that's a different story. But if they've got to just coexist, then they probably would rather just coexist than risk injury. For example, the crocodile lying right next to the hippo and so forth. But I saw this episode where there was a lion feeding on this elephant carcass on one side, and then there was a crocodile right on the elephant's trunk trying to have a bit of a twist and a turn at that, but didn't have much success. And then a hippo came up out of the water and started to feed off the stomach contents of the elephant. That's how tough times were. It was bare ground. And I saw that happen and I thought to myself, wow, this is a This is coexistence at its finest. These lions are at one end of the elephant feeding, and the hippopotamus feeding from the stomach contents that were opened up, and that all that sort of vegetation, or that as we saw, not quite. It was actually probably more nutritious at that point than it was as dung. But so that's hopefully answered your question, mate. And I do think it's a great question. Elephants are quite inefficient at digesting, but that's the only time I've ever seen elephants' digestion being eaten, and it was by another animal. But great question. Thank you very much, mate. He's gone underwater now. We're just looking at a bit of open ground, so I'm going to move on probably. There's not even a bird to be seen really. There's a couple of starlings on the outside, but a bit too far away. Alright, what we should do is probably see what Scotty's up to. I know he was going through some bundu bashing there to try and find this leopard for you, so let's go back to Scott and see what he's up to. Okay, we'll see you just now.
Welcome back, everyone. And just to recap, Liam and myself had a brief sighting of the female leopard just a few minutes ago. There goes my hat almost. And she was moving in an easterly direction predominantly through some quite thick vegetation. We lost visual of her. She appeared to be following a steenbuck that had run off, a small antelope. And we've looped around hoping that she would have come out onto this road where we're going to search for her now. Anywhere from here, we could potentially get lucky and find her again. So keep your eyes peeled and help myself and VM to try and track down this leopard again. Thanks very much to Ellen, who is one of our leopard identifying experts. And Ellen's not sure from the brief glimpses that she got, but she agrees that it could be shadow. So the female leopard that we don't see very often, and regardless of who it is, all of the leopards we like to see. And let's slowly make our way through this area, and in the hope that she has continued. This is what she wanted to catch earlier. This is a steenbuck, and this is what she was going after earlier. It's not necessarily the same one, but a small antelope. They probably only come up to your average human's knee in height. This male, you can see, has got razor sharp little horns though. They don't get much bigger than that. It's times like these when, after spending some time here, you could, after looking around, notice a leopard poised in the background. So that's what I'm looking for now. Can't seem to see anything. Any audio of alarm calls that may be alerted due to the leopard's presence. We've got a question through from Elizabeth. Good morning, Elizabeth, and welcome on board with us. Elizabeth is interested to know my thoughts on how full the female leopard's stomach was, because she seemed to think that it wasn't very full, and you're right, Elizabeth, exactly right. She is hungry and could certainly do with a meal. It's not uncommon for predators to be in this state, and they can go for